You know, there's something truly special about this time in our lives. The quiet mornings, the freedom to do exactly as we please, and the peace that comes with knowing we have earned every bit of it. But let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like the world expects you to stay busy, stay social, stay connected, even when all you really want is some time alone? Maybe you have even felt a little guilty about it, like you should be saying yes to every lunch invitation or family gathering, even when your heart isn't in it. Well, today I want to tell you something important. Being alone after 60 isn't just okay, it's a blessing. And if you have ever felt that pull towards solitude, that quiet craving for your own company, then this video is for you. Because the truth is, there's a kind of happiness, a kind of freedom that only comes when we step away from the noise and embrace the beauty of our own presence. Now, I'm not saying we should shut out the world completely. Connection is important and loved ones matter. But what I am saying is that there's incredible power in choosing when and how we engage with others. And sometimes the best thing we can do for ourselves is to simply be alone. So, let's talk about why that is. First, let's talk about energy. After 60, our energy isn't what it used to be, and that's perfectly normal. But here's the thing, social interactions, even pleasant ones, can be draining. Think about it. How many times have you come home from a gathering feeling exhausted, even if you enjoyed yourself? Conversations, small talk, keeping up with everyone's stories. It all takes effort. And when we are constantly giving our energy away, we leave little left for ourselves. But when we allow ourselves to step back, to spend time alone, we give our minds and bodies the chance to recharge. It's like putting your favorite chair in a sunny spot and just sitting for a while. No demands, no expectations, just you. That's when we rediscover the simple joys. Reading a book without interruptions, sipping tea in silence, or even just watching the birds outside the window. These moments aren't just peaceful, they are restorative, and that's something no crowded room can give us. Now, let's talk about perspective. There's a certain clarity that comes with solitude, a way of seeing the world and ourselves that gets lost in the chatter of everyday life. When we are alone, we are free to think deeply, to reflect, to listen to our own thoughts without anyone else's opinions crowding in. Think about the last time you had a quiet afternoon to yourself. Maybe you sorted through old photos or sat with a cup of coffee and let your mind wander. Didn't it feel like you could finally hear yourself? That's because solitude gives us the space to reconnect with who we are, not who others expect us to be. And at this stage of life, that's a gift worth cherishing. So, if you have ever felt like you should be more social or that you are missing out by staying home, I want you to remember this. Choosing solitude isn't about shutting people out, it's about choosing yourself. And that's something to celebrate. Now, let's talk about another beautiful aspect of being alone, the freedom to move at your own pace. Because when we are by ourselves, there's no need to rush, no need to keep up with anyone else's rhythm, and that's where the real magic happens. You know, one of the greatest gifts of getting older is the permission to finally slow down. For so many years, life was a whirlwind work, family, obligations, always rushing to meet someone else's schedule. But now, Now we get to decide how our days unfold, and that's where the joy of being alone really shines. Think about your morning routine. When you are alone, there is no hurry. You can linger over breakfast, take your time with the newspaper, or even sit in your robe a little longer if you feel like it. There's no one tapping their foot, waiting for you to hurry up. No need to adjust your natural rhythm to fit someone else's. It's just you, moving through the day exactly as you please. And that, my friend, is a luxury worth savoring. Now, let's talk about something we don't always say out loud. Not all social interactions are created equal. As we get older, we start to realize that some conversations leave us feeling uplifted, while others, well, they leave us drained. Maybe it's the friend who always complains, or the family member who brings up old disagreements. Whatever it is, we have reached a point in life where we don't have to subject ourselves to that anymore. When we choose solitude, we are choosing peace. We are saying, my time and energy are precious, and I won't waste them on things that don't fill me up. And that's not selfish, it's wise. After decades of pleasing others, isn't it wonderful to finally put yourself first? Here's another beautiful thing about spending time alone. It reconnects us with the things we truly love. Remember that hobby you used to adore but never had time for? Or the quiet joy of sitting outside, just listening to the wind in the trees? Solitude gives us the space to rediscover those passions without apology, without distraction. I'll never forget a letter I got from a viewer named Margaret. She told me that after her husband passed, she spent months forcing herself to stay busy. Lunch dates, church groups, you name it. But one day, she decided to cancel all her plans and just be herself. She dug out her old watercolor set, sat in her garden, and painted for the first time in 30 years. And you know what she said? It felt like coming home to myself. That's the magic of solitude. It's not about loneliness, it's about reclaiming yourself. Now, let's talk about something that might surprise you. Being alone can actually make your relationships richer. That might sound backwards, but stay with me. When we are constantly surrounded by others, we can start taking those connections for granted. But when we step away for a while, when we give ourselves the gift of solitude, we return to our loved ones with a fuller heart, a clearer mind, and a deeper appreciation for the time we do spend together. Think of it like a garden. If you never give the soil a chance to rest, it gets exhausted. But when you let it lie fallow for a season, that's when it becomes fertile again. Our relationships are the same way. A little space doesn't push people away, it makes the reunions sweeter. So, if you have been feeling like you should be more social, ask yourself this: who am I doing this for? If the answer isn't you, then maybe it's time to give yourself permission to step back, to breathe, to enjoy the incredible freedom of your own company. And speaking of freedom, let's talk about one of the most liberating parts of being alone after 60: the power of saying no. Because when we are by ourselves, we remember that we don't owe anyone our time, not our energy, not our presence, unless we want to give it. And that realization, that's where true happiness begins. There's a certain kind of courage that comes with age, the courage to stop apologizing for who we are and how we choose to live. And if there's one thing I hope you take away from our conversation today, it's this: your desire for solitude isn't something to justify or explain. It's simply part of the wisdom that comes with these later years. The understanding that peace isn't found in a crowded room, but in the quiet moments we give ourselves. Now, let's talk about one of the most profound benefits of spending time alone. It teaches us how to be still. In a world that never stops moving, stillness is almost revolutionary. When was the last time you sat in a complete silence, without the TV on, without your phone in hand, just being yourself? For many of us, it feels unfamiliar at first. We have spent so much of our lives doing that we have forgotten how to simply exist. But here's the beautiful part: the more we practice solitude, the more we discover that stillness isn't empty, it's full of small wonders we have been too busy to notice. The way sunlight moves across the floor in the afternoon, the sound of your own breath when you are not rushing, the gentle rhythm of a day unfolding exactly as it should. And here's something else solitude gives us: the space to listen to our bodies. After 60, our relationship with our physical selves changes. We can't push through exhaustion the way we used to. But when we are alone, we become more attuned to what we truly need. Whether it's an extra hour of sleep, a slow walk around the neighborhood, or just sitting down when our knees tell us to. There's no audience, no one to impress, no need to power through, just the quiet wisdom of a body that's earned its rest. Now, I know that some people might say, don't you get lonely? And sure, loneliness can happen. But solitude and loneliness aren't the same thing. Loneliness is when you want connection but can't find it. Solitude, that's when you choose yourself. It's the difference between feeling abandoned and feeling free. And let's be honest, after a lifetime of caring for others, meeting expectations, showing up when we were tired, don't we deserve this? Don't we deserve mornings with no alarms, afternoons with no agenda, evenings where the only voice we hear is our own? These years are our harvest time, the season when we finally get to enjoy the fruits of all that hard work. And if enjoying that harvest means spending more time in our own wonderful company, then that's exactly what we should do. So, if you have ever been feeling guilty for turning down invitations or worrying that you are missing out by staying home, I want you to try something. The next time you have a quiet moment alone, pause and ask yourself, how does this feel? Not how it should feel, not how others think it ought to feel, but how it actually feels to you. If the answer is peaceful, content, or even joyful, then you have your answer. Because here's the truth: there's no one right way to live after 60. Some thrive in social circles, and that's wonderful. But for others, maybe for yourself, the real magic happens in the quiet spaces between the noise. And that's not just okay, it's beautiful. As we wrap up, I'll leave you with this thought: the years ahead are yours, truly, completely yours. However, you choose to spend them, whether surrounded by loved ones or wrapped in the comfortable silence of your own company. What matters most is that it feels right to you. So, here's to mornings that start slow, to afternoons spent exactly as you please, and to the incredible freedom of knowing that sometimes the very best company you can keep is your own. If this video resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Have you discovered the joys of solitude in your later years? What moments of quiet happiness have you found? Let's share our stories and remind each other that living life on our own terms isn't just a privilege, it's a joy we have earned. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe for more conversations like this one. Until next time, remember, these years are your masterpiece. Paint them exactly as you choose. See you in the next video.